Hold on. Oh god, here goes the fucking ring light. They're fucking pretty.
I'm keeping that in.
You see, we don't need to bring any nonsense. Everything else is providing the nonsense for us today.
We are the nonsense. I just admire my glasses.
Well, they're so gay.
Stole them right off of another sister's face. I liked them, I saw them, yoink! Mine.
I wonder who you did it to.
Sister Joan just didn't look right with glasses. Look at that face. She's gorgeous without them. See, we're best of friends again.
And I have one reaction. Here we go. I'm ready. Let's do it. Nonsense time. Hello, I'm Sister Babebushka.
And I'm Sister Alaska Lott.
And this is the 20th episode special of Utter Nonsense, it is. If you can't tell, I might be Russian, but I might also be Scottish.
What kind of Scottish accent is that?
A Russian one.
You're having a laugh, pal. This is the show where we pour a cup of tea, iced tea, because it's still very hot in the UK.
And utter whatever nonsense pops into our heads.
This is basically a laid-back chat between me and that nutcase over there.
And Alaska loves it so much that we put out a new episode once a month at the start of every fucking month.
So make sure you like and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you're notified of when the next chunk of nonsense appears on YouTube.
It'll be sooner than you think, because it's also a podcast you can listen to on the go.
You can listen to the podcast wherever you find your podcasts, because we're on pretty much every directory.
Even some we didn't even know about. Okay, I'm going to stop him now. Can he?
I'm impressed with how long you kept that up with.
Thank you.
What are we going to do today?
I thought, since it's September, we should do a buy one get one free offer for our audience by giving them the 2 babushkas for the price of one show.
I can't wait.
In case you can't tell from the banter, we're going to do another Paint Our Faces video that you can watch as we make our own faces look amazing, and this time, it's going to be Babebushka leading us all.
Yay! I am very excited. I brought all the things. I've got stuff like... Do you remember how I said I didn't own a lipstick? I own one now.
Is somebody excited?
Yes.
Well, good. I thought it was just me.
Do we want to give a hint as to what the face is going to look like, or are we going to leave it a surprise?
Oh, that is a good question. I mean, I suppose if we're going over the process of doing a Babebushka face in, I do have to mention the secret Babebushka files.
Not just a pretty face.
I mean, you don't even have a face at the moment, really, do you?
The horror!
The file does contain all of Babebushka's planned faces for special occasions. So, not every pride will be represented in the file, but what does happen is if Babebushka wants to do a fun face, such as Slap Saturdays for those that were around back at the beginning of the pandemic, we did create little faces. Doesn't it look great? I know, it's so perfect.
I'm so impressed.
So yeah, the file contains all the ones where, generally if I'm doing a character, rather than just doing whatever I feel on the day, I like to plan out my faces a little bit. Today, in honour of doing 2 for 1 day long Babebushkas, we're going to do another character face.
Ooh, exciting.
We're not going to tell people what it is. Alaska already knows, because obviously I had to tell them what to get and who we were doing, etc. But for the audience at home, they will have to guess.
We'll see how far through they can get until they figure it out.
I mean, a Babushka face is very basic. If you can do it in half an hour, it has to be basic sometimes.
I'll still manage to take 4 hours over it.
I wasn't issuing a challenge.
Challenge accepted.
So, shall we begin the process? What we're gonna...
Enough about me. I just needed attention for a second.
You were like, shut the fuck up, Babushka.
Right, what are we doing?
So, what we'll want to do is, Babushka will generally start with the eyes once we've done our white face. So, we will get our handy... I can see you, green screen, being a problem. We're going to get our handy-dandy colour palette. If I wave my hand in front of it, do you come into focus then, you prick?
Oh, that's hilarious.
To begin with the eyes, we will get our handy-dandy colour palette. There's a lot more colours here than we're going to use today, though. Yes. And we just need a singular makeup brush.
Any particular kind of shape? Like I didn't know what I needed, so I brought them all.
Good, yes. So we want one that's, I don't know, hold it up closer. So it's a chunky one, and it's not too fine a line, so it's more circular.
Oh, okay. I've got one that's it's a bit like, it's a round. How do I do this? It's like a round brush.
Yep.
Like this.
Yeah, that will be fine.
Yay.
So a lot of Babushka's face is basically just eyeshadow on it. So quite different, I suppose, from yours, Alaska, where it's more the sort of coloured water paints and everything.
Actually, this is a really nice looking little palette. And I think like some of the money from it when you buy it goes to like helping endangered species, which is quite nice.
Nice. So all we're going to do is we're going to select a nice shade of blue, a deep sort of blue, but not too dark. Oh yes, beautiful.
There we go. Is it a dark blue? Like this one?
I would say the bottom right one, yes. That one from that palette looks quite good. But basically, we're just going to follow the crescent, the inside bit of the eyelid, and just colour in the entire eyelid, the one colour.
Does it need to be neat?
Obviously, you don't want to go under your eye, because we're going to do something different there. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a perfect line on the eyelid, because we're going to blend it into another colour as we move along. So basically it's just about giving that one sort of coating of colour to the entire eyelid.
Okay. And with powder, do I need to worry about fallout?
Yes. So basically what you'll do is you'll sort of dab your brush into the sort of colour, give it a quick tap, and then you can start applying. What will happen if you didn't do that is you would have the sort of particles of eyeshadow falling on your cheek, which can be a little bit annoying and does happen when you're a babushka in a rush at times. So what I find I do is I sort of dab it in the sort of inner bit of the eye. The majority of the eyelid I can then sort of sweep across, and then I go back to dabbing at the outer bit of the eye to apply the colour.
Okay, and are we bringing it to a bit of a point at the end? Is that what you've done?
Part of that is more my natural eye shape, so that when I'm dabbing it in, it has a bit of a point, but it doesn't necessarily need to have a fixed point at this time, because again, as we go along, we're going to blend in some stuff. So,
okay, I has done one eyelid.
Yay! And so we're basically doing the same to both eyelids, so the eyes are going to look quite symmetrical to start with. But anyone that's seen Babushka's face knows you eventually don't end up with the same colouring on each side of the face. And Alaska, is this your first time sort of using eyeshadows and such, or have you used them in the past before?
Very, very little. For my sister face, I use water-activated face paints. And the only time I really use eyeshadows is for colouring in my brows, or sometimes for some cheek contour. That's it.
Okay.
And even then, I'm not overly convinced I know what I'm doing. This is when we discover that I've got one eyelid that's a different shape from the other.
The secret's out.
No, it's good enough.
That's a Babebushka spirit. What I would generally do when making a face is I'll use one brush per colour. For the next brush, what we're going to look for is it's going to be sort of quite flat, thin, but not ultra thin. So a little bit thinner than before.
I've got a couple that are kind of like that. One's bigger than the other.
The one away from your thumb.
So the bigger one.
Yes.
Okay. I have my brush.
Cool. Nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to be filling in the rest of the area up to our eyebrows and sort of to the sides of them. We're going to go back to our handy dandy palette. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a little bit of mixing of this grey one and sort of this blue to try and sort of, because that one is actually paler than it looks.
And put it into the lighter one or the darker one?
The darker one. So we want to use the lighter grey to lighten up the dark one because that feels more in keeping with the colour we want.
Okay, cool.
So just basically getting a little bit of colour of the grey already on the brush, so then you can lightly swirl into the dark blue to sort of mix the colours on the palette.
I'm not sure if I've mixed them or not.
I mean, as long as the powder's gotten onto the brush, it will sort of work together as we're putting it on, or at least that's been my experience so far. Also, anyone watching this episode, I am not a makeup guru of any kind, so if we're doing things wrong, please feel free to give Babebushka free tips in the comments.
Okay, and then what are we doing with it?
So basically starting here, so almost where the teardrop of the eye starts.
Yep.
Like starting from there, and we're just following the curve under the eyebrow and we're filling in that section. If we stop where the end of your eyebrow is, and then I'll take us from there.
Okay.
How does one describe how they do their face? I don't know, I'm making it up as I go along. So when we're pulling across the top of our brow, it's fine for the sort of lines to start meshing together a bit in that way. So as we're going across, it's basically sort of blending in at the line.
Okay, so we're blending as we go, or we're just kind of allowing them to merge together.
It'll just sort of naturally blend that in as we're going across in our sweeping movements.
So it's part of the process.
Part of the process when you're a sweaty bitch in a hot house.
Definitely part of my process then. Done one eye.
Cool. So what we're going to do, still with that eye, is our eyebrow obviously goes up and then it comes back down at some point. And what we're going to do is we're just going to extend where the come down point is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover up my eyebrow with the same colour that we've been using to fill in this section, and sort of just fill out that eyebrow and maybe a tiny slither more just past the eyebrow. So basically we're colouring half the eyebrow with the same colour that we've been using.
Okay, and we're still following the kind of line of the eyebrow, but just we're going slightly over it and coming down the other side.
But basically covering up the brow and then a tiny bit after that. Just colouring it in and just slightly extending it with a little bit. Yep. And what we want to do just at the edge here is we're just bringing it down in a nice neat line so it's connecting back up to the eyes. That's why we've chosen the sort of straight line brush, so it can just be a straight line from eye to this imaginary part of the eye under eyebrow. Perfect.
Yay!
And it's basically just doing the exact same on the other eye.
Got it.
And after this episode, everyone will know why Babebushka doesn't go into teaching.
I think you're doing well so far. I understood what you're asking me to do, and I think I'm hopefully Doing it okay.
Nobody has died yet. That is a miracle.
What more do you want, really?
Clearly, Babushka just asks for too much from life. And this is always the point where Babushka realizes that she can do things on one side of her face that for some reason are really difficult to replicate on the other side of her face.
This is where switching hands comes in handy. We should do more of these episodes. Like, we could continue teaching each other different makeup looks. I like this.
We could have monthly makeup episodes as well.
Sure.
Media Empire of the House, Alaska. Beautiful, darling. What we should have at the moment is basically a nice sort of solid block colour on top of her eyes, on the eyelid, and then it should be that sort of overarching sort of greyish streak to it with an extended part to cover the down part of our brows. Neatly coming back in to both sides of the eye, basically.
Sister Joan, calling Sister Joan, Sister Joan, Sister Joan.
You said the ritual chant to summon her.
It's like Beetlejuice, you say the name the right number of times and she appears. We need a new brush.
A new day, a new brush. So, for this one, we're wanting a petite little brush. So again, quite thin. It's not a hard line, but it's fairly petite because we want to have a good bit of control for this next point.
I think the best I have is this.
Yeah, I think that'll do because basically what Babushka does is Babushka will have the thicker brushes for areas where I don't need as much fine control, whereas for other areas where we maybe want a bit more detail or we want to be quite intricate, that's when Babushka will use smaller brushes.
I've got a small brush that is small enough for eyebrows, I think.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get some black eyeshadow on that, whereas my colour palette says here from Urban Decay, Platonic. Don't know why that's black, but okay. So we're going to start with the top part of the brow, because there is an extended part that will go down to the nose. Where we've got our colour, we're going to start there and we're going to follow it up to this sort of bridge part that we've made here. So we're doing a straight line from the corner up to the brow.
I might watch you a little bit before I start doing.
Yes, you pervert, you may watch me anytime. Starting, and it's basically layering it on top and just sort of colouring in the brow up into the point that we've made.
Black's quite a scary colour to use, you know. It's so bold, like if you get it wrong, it's quite obvious.
It is indeed, which is why it's funny because I think I reserve black for brows if I'm going to use some, which I know can be one of the trickiest things to colour in your face. But then because Babushka will generally have quite a lot of writing on her face, Babushka might also be using black for the writing, which can be quite fun when it goes wrong, as you've witnessed before.
Never. You've never gone wrong.
And so, obviously mine just went a little bit thicker here because I've got quite a thick brow. Beautiful! For the next part, it's basically following the trend down to that corner point that we painted. We don't bring it back into the eye, it just sits out here once we get there. So, ta-da! So yes, we'll do the same part on the other eye. So again, following that curve before we fill out the contouring on our nose.
This is some badass brows.
I wonder if anyone has guessed yet where we're going with this.
Ooh, I don't know. We've not given many clues yet. Really snatches in like the top of the nose, doesn't it?
It's a nice handy little trick to make it look like there's a tiny bit of the nose. I mean, with Babushka's genetics, you gotta hide the nose as much as possible.
I know there's this beauty standard where we all expect, like, you know, the perfect nose is small and narrow and pointed and cute, but it ignores all the amazing noses that you get across lots of different cultures and different people, and they can all be beautiful in their own way.
Indeed they can. I'm just like, I'm not a fan of my bulbous nose.
People should not be ashamed of noses. Do you know what's funny is that I'm not a fan of my nose either. And I can't think of anything actually wrong with it. I just don't like, I think I just don't like my face. And I think that's just a normal human thing, isn't it? People with straight hair want curly hair, and the people with curly hair want straight hair. Like, people just are never happy because we're taught by society to not be happy with ourselves, which is rubbish.
That is a very good point, Alaska. Love yourself, everybody, no matter how ugly I think you are.
Beautiful takeaway message.
I mean, what was it Babushka saying that, or was it maybe our character who was saying that? Who knows? No, it was probably Babushka, to be fair.
Look at this face. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you say that my brows are complete?
Well, if your brows are complete, then we'll move on to the nose. Because everyone needs a dainty, lovely nose to seduce that prince. And I've got to look pretty for the boys down at the seaside. What we're going to do is we're going to get some more black on the same brush. And we're going to finish our line down to our nose. So we're going to just continue this line, and we're just going to take it down to the point of our nose about here. So it's basically contouring the nose, but its eyebrows and nose are one singular line from a distance.
Again, I'm going to watch a little bit before I start.
So it's basically taking line down, and they don't meet. So there will be a little bit of a gap at the bottom. So it's just down each side. No, I should.
Just like that.
Just like that.
All right, I'll get started then. Will I? No pressure. No pressure. It's a little bit of pressure.
Is it just because it's contouring in a different medium for you?
I don't know. I draw lines on my nose all the time. This is silly. Right, just do it. Just do it. Alaska, you can do it.
Would it help if I said some wise words from Shia LaBeouf?
Sure.
Just do it.
You're right, that helps.
Where it connects, obviously, to the rest of the brow line, if you do need to make it a tiny bit thicker, you can sort of just go over it again.
Going to even it up. Do, 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 do. Make it like all the rest.
God, I feel like I'm in a high school musical drama now.
To be honest, this is what it's like to live with me, though. I randomly burst out to song as I'm just going about my daily life in my house.
Are we happy?
I think now I know why I don't like my nose.
Unless we've solved the problem.
This is what we've got so far.
Are you happy and confident with it?
I'm going to trust the process.
For most Babushka looks, the one side will be different from the other. And this is where we're going to start bringing this in with some classic Babushka maneuvers. We're going to start with our left side of the face, and we're going to create some tentacles!
Is there a reason that you're going for the left side of the face for tentacles?
Mainly because that was the side I drew them on.
No, I just wondered if it was because some of the later stuff you were going to feel more comfortable doing it with your stronger hand.
That is also true.
Because in which case I may want to do the reverse.
That's fair. So, to give a little bit of a heads up, what I'm going to do on my left side is tentacles, and on my right side we're going to have some writing. So whatever side you feel more strong on, maybe save that for the writing.
That's what I'm going to do then.
I've clearly just subconsciously thought that through and just never actually realised on a conscious level. So we're going to want another brush because we're going to use another colour. So brush-wise, we want basically one that you feel you've got a good amount of control on. Again, not super fine, but we want it sort of flat. So another sort of flat edged one.
Has a brush.
Yeah. So it's basically doing a sort of wavy line just going down the way.
It's a wiggle. It's a little bit of wiggle. Like a more wiggly wiggle.
So a sort of wiggle and then just a small little curve in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's almost like a tiny little hook. So if you want, what I can do is I can do a few on my face so you can see the sort of way we're going with it. So the reason we didn't really colour in the under eye is because that is where all the tentacles are going to come from. Almost as if we had no eyes and there were just tentacles pouring out of our eye sockets. Sleep with that at night, kids. And just sort of going down. So for example, I'm going to start with just a sort of wiggly line. So again, having another wavy one that goes far down. Potentially having one at the end that curves, and maybe having a sort of small curly as well.
Would you always recommend doing the curl in the same direction so there's like a uniformity to them?
I would say it's better to mix it up a little bit so it feels more natural. Obviously tentacles you can find on cephalopods that have quite red pigmentation. So it doesn't just have to be like seaweed tentacles, it can also be cephalopodic.
Word of the day. Okay, and that's coming directly from the bottom of the eye out.
Basically treating it as if it is almost an extension of a little cephalopod or patch of seaweed coming out from underneath your eye. Obviously I've done these quite a lot, but it's just about feeling the space of your face as well.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of just creative freedom, see what you can do kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's really just feeling when you want to do a curve and how you fit the next tentacle into it. So it's, and then they start slowly to just take shape as you go along your eye.
Starting to pull the faces. It's the only way to do it.
And it doesn't have to be a lot of tentacles, it can just be as many as you're sort of feeling for it as well. So some faces you'll see quite a lot of bold tentacles, and sometimes it can be quite small and subdued, or there could just be a few. It's all just about how artistically it feels fitting into your face.
Feels like it's a lot less formulaic than what I do.
So I think a lot of Babebushka's face, where Alaska you're talking about having like a certain amount of things to make it sort of line up. I think Babebushka's is more about having certain criteria met. So having, you know, coloured eyelids, having bold brows, having tentacles, having writing. As long as they're there, it's maybe not necessarily how many are there. Although I always generally have two eyebrows because I've, funnily enough, got two eyes.
Yes. Quite.
Next manifestation, I'm bringing in the eye patch.
Makes me question if maybe I should try and be freer doing my own makeup. Be interesting to see what happens. Did it with loads of extra fancy bits and pieces. None of them will match.
And then once you've got a fair amount of your tentacles on, I then just go over the under eye with the colour so that they're then all sort of attached. And this is my sneaky way of hiding the bags under my eyes.
Ah, I was going to say drawing the tentacles is actually quite difficult because of the bags under my eyes.
Yeah. So then that way people more focus on the bits coming down after that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like you've done there.
When you mentioned it, so I had to try it out.
I mean, I think you need the full Babebushka experience.
Just a little wiggle. Just an extra little wiggle.
Beautiful, darling.
I've got my tentacles on.
Gonna wiggle up inside people now.
We're gonna do what now?
Don't judge me. So, tentacle side done. Feeling fabulous. Feeling wriggly. My top's just burst open again like a dirty little sea creature.
Just too excited at the wriggliness.
And so, what we're going to move on to next is the second sort of classic thing you'll see on Babushka's face, which is indeed a little bit of writing.
Oh, it's the bit I've been dreading.
So basically, with Babushka faces, if they're based on characters, if there isn't a huge amount of the characters' attributes to draw on their face, it's sometimes nice to add a little bit of a slogan or a message. And so, for this character, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing "Love Your Body."
Yes.
So you're not getting just one word, you're getting 2 words and an abbreviation of the middle one. So we're going to put UR, so it's a little bit shorter.
Not gonna lie, I'm abbreviating the first one too.
Oh, are you? So again, we're going to use black because it'll pop. Or we can use a sort of dark purple. In fact, no, dark purple would be better.
A darker purple.
Yes, the darker purple. And again, we're going to want a brush that's got quite a fair bit of control.
See, I'm starting to feel like none of my brushes are small enough for this.
So again, it's another flat top rather than spherical.
So, something like this?
Yep, that's fine. Yeah, that's quite similar to this, I feel.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Ignore all the other marks on my arm.
Same.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that sometimes has to wash their arm before we can even go out when we're getting ready for events.
Like every time.
So what I generally will do is write out the words that I'm going to do on my arm.
Okay.
Oh, that was on the left side. Oh, isn't that interesting? I've really fucked him. Sorry, I was looking, because I've got the design that we're doing hanging up here so I can refer to it as we're going along. And I just looked at it and I'm like, well, I did design that to go on the left part of my face. So that's why it looks a little bit different from what I thought it'd look like in my head.
Well, this is hard. It's not even backwards yet.
What I find quite helpful is if I've got my first letter down, I can then refer to how it should look on my arm and try and mimic that on my face, even though it's going backwards.
Okay, so I've written it on my arm.
Okay.
How does that compare to the size of my face? So yeah, I'm gonna give it a go, and if it doesn't work, it's my own fault. I would like to do more episodes like this, because I would like to learn more, like, do more Babushka faces. I feel I would learn a lot.
I don't know if anyone learns anything from me other than, why does she do anything?
It's been good so far. I've liked it. It's been very different from what I normally do, and it's been really enjoyable. So I would love to do this again.
Yay, I've not put you off this forever.
I mean, whether or not you want to do another Alaska faces.
I think it's okay. It was quite fun.
Do you have any tricks for how you go about placing, like, the first letters or the first words?
I'm probably going to start sort of underneath this point here, so I can then fit in the L, the O, the V, and then the E. It's the geography of the face that helps map out how that would fit in. So again, probably a bit more individualistic for each person.
If any bit's gonna fuck up, it'll be this one. Oh, and I have to do it backwards.
That is where the writing on the arm comes in handy, because once you've got the first letter in, so I've got my L, once I've got that, I can sort of reference how the next letter interacts with that first letter. Yeah, your L will be in the start of your eye going out the way. So whereas mine is going in the way, yours is going out the way. I don't know if that helps or not, but I'll leave you to do it now.
Right, okay. I can do it. I can do it.
You can do it, I believe in you.
Oh, I don't. Is that the right way around?
Not when I'm looking at it. What I've got is Val.
The letters are in the wrong order, but they're the right way round.
So the V and the U are, to me, the L looks like it's backwards.
Okay. So I fucked up a little. So do I just put white over the top, or do I have to like wipe off my cheek?
If I fuck up, I just dab white on the top and it covers up.
I knew this was going to be the thing that would trip me up.
Still want to do Babebushka faces?
I don't know how you do it.
This is the bit in my face that always takes the longest because it's needing to double check the lettering.
Attempt 2! So it should look the right way around in the mirror.
For me, no.
I don't understand, okay.
Yeah. In the mirror, to me, it doesn't look right. Because if I was looking in the mirror, it's basically written backwards. But
Okay.
when you're looking at my face, you see it written correctly.
So that means I would put the L here, then
Yep.
the U, and then the V on the outside. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, right. Let's try it again. Let's put the U first, because it's going to be the same regardless. So the L is going to go here.
Yes.
It's going to go here.
And the little leg is going to go towards the U. Yep.
It's very faint just now because I'm scared. And then the V goes on the other side. Better?
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you've got a couple of letters on your face, it gets easier because you've got more reference points.
Once you've worked out which order they go in for the first word, it's not so bad. Okay.
Yes.
Finally kind of got it.
Out in the fields with my thingamajigs, I just like to have a wee jig. I'm not very good at writing these, what do you call them? Lyrics.
I can relax a little bit now.
The scariest part is over.
Well, I mean, I don't know what's coming next.
Good. And that is us done with the powders.
Yay!
So, no more brushes needed, no more powders. All we have left to do is the lipstick. Woo! We will take our lipsticks, and it's pretty much. I like how it disappeared out of existence. It was like,
Magical lipstick.
and I'm not the greatest person for using lipstick, so this could be fun. The blind, teaching the blind. Can I see your shade of lipstick for a second? So I can. Nice, yeah. The bottom lip, we're basically filling out the shape of our bottom lip. And for the upper lip, what we're doing is we're following the lines of our lip, but we're going to accentuate the Cupid's bow. So we're just going to make, yeah, like that. Smear it out like the mess we are.
Gorgeous.
And this is where the funny faces come in again. So you got to have your ha 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 ha. So I'm just going to go for it. So I start at the center so I can just really build the triangle of the Cupid's bow. Because I don't think mine's is pronounced, but what I'm doing is just basically creating that big triangle shape so it really pops with the lipstick.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then just a slow pull and follow for the rest of the lip. Like so.
Okay, so you bring it back down to your natural lip at the corner.
Yeah, generally following the curve of your lip again. So I think what we've also learned from Babushka's makeup tips today is that Babushka just follows a lot of her facial structure rather than altering things too much.
Like when we did my face, I know that I have a very different way of applying my makeup, but a lot of it still comes back to looking at my own face structure and using that as a guide to do stuff. So the underlying principles are still there.
Then for the bottom one, generally I find it quite easy if I open my mouth quite wide. Because it almost becomes an easy sort of arc. Beautiful! I wonder if these poor unfortunate souls watching us have worked out who we are yet.
I wonder indeed. Shall we beveil ourselves?
I suppose it's time to get on everything else that goes with this. To the nun-mobile!
And off I go.
Praying mantis nun.
I'm fairly certain there's a sci-fi film where people look like this.
There was probably several.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
That's coping good enough.
20 episodes in. I've improved my vocals with a microphone, I've improved my camera with a new laptop, but I somehow still haven't found a perfect way to get a good green screen.
I tried by getting an actual green screen. It did not help.
Oh, wow, there goes that plan.
And if I just keep this forward, it seems to work better. How does it feel seeing two babushkas?
Fabulous, darling. Beautiful. How does it feel compared to the usual looks that you do, and now that you've been through the process?
I don't see Sister Alaska. I see Sister Babebushka. Which I suppose was the purpose. It's weird. I've never seen myself like this. I quite enjoy the tentacles. I can see what you do there.
Two babushkas for the price of one.
I would definitely like to experiment more. I would love to do like more episodes teaching each other and trying this again.
Yeah, I think it would be quite interesting to come back to doing each other's faces at some point and learning more from each other. Yes, I'm aware I've been touching my boobs while I've been saying this. I don't care, people. I'm allowed to touch myself because I love my body.
I'm kind of curious what it'd be like if I tried to combine like this with my own style. Like if I tried to merge the two things, what would I end up with?
Babebushka.
Babeushka.
Babebushka bot. Right, well, I think it's off to the beach for both of us to go trap ourselves a nice young prince.
With our stolen voices.
It was a good deal that we made. It was a signed contract. It wasn't stolen. It was a fair trade. As a fellow Babushka, you now have to agree it was a lovely time.
It's been a lovely chat.
But it can't just be about us two Babushkas all the time. So, Alaska, I was wondering, what are we looking at next time?
What are we doing next time? Next time, we are going to share some of the weird and wonderful history of nuns, because we came across it by accident on the internet, and some of these stories are fantastic. I love it.
Oh my days, I cannot wait to hear about the weird and wonderful history of some nuns.
So it's a bit of a story time. We're going to share the stories with you. I'm sure, I mean, we found quite a lot of stories, to be fair, so it can definitely be a multi-episode thing.
I feel we've got a lot of these on the go recently where we're like, oh yeah, this is a multi-episode idea.
Well, if you like the first installment, you can let us know, and we will tell you more weird history of nuns.
And if you hate it, well, shut the fuck up. It's our show. Where's your show? Because we control the powers of all the world's oceans, and if you fuck with us, well,
You've got a trident up the...
I don't know. I hear that can be quite pleasurable.
Those poor unfortunate souls.
In pain.
Indeed.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please go to Facebook and search for House of Nunsense. That's Haus, House of Nunsense, like the show name. You know how to spell nonsense if you're already fucking here. That is where you can find everything. I broke my character. I can't go back to it.
Just look down here.
If you've enjoyed the show and you'd like to help financially support it, please make sure to check out our new Ko-fi.
And you can find all the links to our various different socials in the description down below. So please do feel free to come and check us out and see what we're getting up to in between shows.
You can listen to Utter Nonsense as a podcast on the go, and you can also check out another fabulous podcast while you're there called Babebushka's Big Queer Media Review, full of all the great queer content that you could ever want from your one and only Sister Babebushka.
From the Alaska Lott. It is hosted by the wonderful Sister Babebushka, so please do go check that out as well. Look, I did the thing.
We, as Babebushka Collective Hive Mind, did the thing.
We did the thing.
We did the thing.
We did the thing.
The thing.
We did the thing.
We did the thing.
We did the thing. We did the thing.
We did the thing.
We did the thing.